Hello everyone and welcome back to That Paradox Gaming. Today we've got a mod spotlight on ChromatiCraft. Now ChromatiCraft is a fantastic magic mod by Rakia. Rakia has given me a version 4 pre-release which is basically complete. A few little bits and pieces just need to be fixed up, but it is good to go to show you the mod spotlight. So yeah, let's get into this fantastic mod. So here we can see a lot of the stuff that you'll get with the mod. This is actually just stuff that's going to spawn with the world pretty much. This is all world gen stuff, these trees, and we'll get into what all of those do later. The mod adds lots of magic stuff like magical abilities to like throw lightning and stuff. Powerful items like wands and things. It's got a really unique power system that you can actually see in action here using this energy beacon, and we transmit energy to various machines and devices. What else? It's also got a fantastic and very in-depth crafting system. Yes, so we'll get into that. It's huge. It's actually casting. You'll be creating really difficult recipes and stuff. But yeah, it's really well thought out. What else? There's also a great progression system. Now, to progress in this mod, you're actually going to have to go out and explore the world. You're going to have to go find things, visit places, create new items and stuff. So, look, let's get into it. We've got a lot to get through, so this may take a few parts. We'll see how it goes. Let's get started with ChromatiCraft. So let's talk about getting started with ChromatiCraft and how you progress through the mod. Now, ChromatiCraft is not intended for being used right from the beginning of the world. What you're going to have to do is go out and explore, find certain items, and visit certain locations in order to get started. Now, when you start off, you're going to have this chromatic lexicon book. If you open that up, it's pretty empty. All you have is this entry-level getting started book or page in here. And this little spiel just sets up the scene and gives you the hint that you're going to have to go out and collect items and explore and experiment to get started with the mod. Now, there's two primary ways in which you progress through the mod. One of which is by finding these items, these info fragments. Now, they're going to be found in loot chests throughout the world. If you kill certain mobs, such as villagers and witches, and occasionally if a player gets killed by one of these energy beacons, they may drop an info shard. All right, cool. So with your chromatic lexicon, if you shift right click, you're going to get this little inventory which says 0 of 102. If we pop our info fragments up in there and now open up our lexicon, hey, we've got some more stuff in there. We don't only have that, we've now got crystals and casting. So this is information, introduction to crystals and casting. But we've also got some recipes and stuff down here. So if we click here, we can see a spiel about what the casting table does. And if we click here, we get its recipe. Very cool. Now, there's also this page over here. And what's in here is your progression through the mod. Now, basically what we've got are these empty portraits, and these all represent locations we have to visit or certain things we have to find. So probably a good example is if we just jump down. Oh, I made a hole somewhere. Here we go. Yeah, so if we visit, if we just go across here, we see this one. World floor. Is it possible to dig too deep? Let's find out. So we jump down the hole. And if we dig all the way down to, through the lava to bedrock. Am I close enough to the bedrock at level 8? No, I'm not apparently. Here we go. Must be here. There we go, down, and look at that. This portrait's now turned into a piece of bedrock. World floor. Is it possible to dig too deep? Maybe, but that layer of rock below seems impenetrable. Nice. So we've unlocked one of these little portraits. But actually, if I just go show you here, look at this. This wasn't here before. There's another one now on this line, the Evil Realm. And I bet you can guess what the Evil Realm is. Yes, we've got to go to the Nether. So we light this up. We travel through to the Nether. And what we should see once we arrive... Wow. That's a horrible spawn. And what we see once we arrive is this has now been, yeah, unlocked. Cool. So let's pop back through. So you can see, the book is unlocking different portraits, but what does that get us? What's the point in doing that? Well, an easy way to show a good reward for doing that is if we go to here, grab ourselves an energy crystal. Now, just notice what flowers and stuff you can see in the world. Really, there's not a lot. There's just grass, there's some dandelions or whatever around the place. If we put down this energy crystal, bam, nice. We'll see in our chromatic lexicon that we have now got tangible energy unlocked, and that's giving us fabrication, giving us a hint that we can maybe start crafting things. And another thing, oh wow, right next to it, look at this. Look what just appeared out of absolutely nowhere. Game mode, okay, oh yeah, mode 1. Oh, sorry, I stuffed up going into survival mode just there. But game mode 0, bam, get out of the way, sheep. If I now break this, look at this. We've now got aura dust. So that little bit of progression has revealed to us a new resource that we need to in order to get going with the mod. This aura dust, and we're going to find that in these little plants around the world. So if we just go game mode 1, so you can see there's now a bunch of these spawning around the place, and basically as you progress through all of these portraits, you're going to unlock more resources that you can actually see to mine to get going with the mod. So guys, look, that's pretty much how the progression works, or how most of the progression works, but in the next part we're going to go into some more stuff, so let's move on. Another important thing to understand about this mod is the element system, or the color system. This is ChromatiCraft, after all, chroma being the Greek word for color. Basically, if we look at, say we look at this green crystal here, the Aveste Cave Crystal, so that's that one right there. So that's called Aveste. Now, we can see some crystal runes up here, and if we look at the light green crystal rune, yep, there it is, Aveste, Aveste. So light green, pretty much anytime you see light green in the mod, it's going to be Aveste. In fact, if we actually even go all the way over here to where we're collecting some energy, and we'll get into what collecting energy is about later, but we can see here, we're collecting light green energy. You'll see it flash in a moment. There you go. So it's light green energy, and that's Aveste energy. So that's the element system. If we even go over here and look at these flowers, well, there's a light green flower here, and if we actually just, I'll just get its name up in here. There we go. The light green flower is Aveste. So the black flower is Kuro, and the black crystal is Kuro, and the black crystal rune is Kuro. So you're going to be able to identify a lot of your elements on site. Cool, moving on. So let's take a look at some of the world gens, some of the things you're going to find in the world as you explore. Now, not all of this stuff is immediately going to be available to you. You may have to progress through the mod a bit before you are going to see some of these items. Crystals are going to turn up straight away. Now, crystals basically give you different status effects as you come close to them. In the overworld, they're positive. In the nether, there'll be negative effects. So be careful going near these crystals in the nether. And if I get close to some of them now, possibly not those ones, but here we go. We can see I'm getting speed and haste and strength, but I'll get the opposite effect in the nether. And if you actually mouse over them and hold shift, you'll see what the effects are. So this one gives you water breathing. Or this one gives you night vision, apparently. It's spazzing out a bit there. This one gives you speed. This one actually gives you XP, though if you're in the nether, it's going to start stealing your XP from you. So, yeah, they're really, yeah, quite neat. Now, they only have a small area of effect, but yeah, they can be quite handy. So, another thing that you're going to need these crystals for is to actually dig them up and get what they give you. And I've got to get out of creative mode before I start trying to dig. So am I in adventure mode, survival mode, there we go. So if I start digging at this crystal and break it, look at this. It drops these crystal shards of the element that the crystal was. So we're looking at Aveste before. If I break the Aveste crystal, I'm going to get Aveste shards. You may occasionally need these for a recipe complete. You'll have to silk touch them for that one. So if you silk touch it, bam, you get the actual crystal itself, so you could then put that back down or use it in a recipe. Neat. So those are the crystals. Um, Now we saw the crystal bloom a bit earlier. So you break that one and you're going to get yourself some of that aura dust. These are element. Oh, I've forgotten. What are these guys called again? I'm gonna have to scroll through. Here we go. Element bulbs. I knew they were element something. So yeah, element bulbs, and if you break those, you're gonna get some. What was that again? Resonant dust. There you go. Now we've also got the trees. Now the trees in the game that are added by the mod are quite neat. They are basically dye trees. So if you break the leaves, eventually it's going to drop a few things. Oh, that one dropped an apple. Let's keep breaking until we get what we're looking for. It's not coming. It may have come. Let's see. No, so far we've got an apple, and we've gotten these chroma berries. So yeah, the berries I think are also named by the different elements that they belong to. But basically, you can eat the berries. Yum 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 yum. And I believe they could be crafted into dyes. Yeah, so you can also craft that into dye. The tree will also drop saplings and dye. And that's the same for all of these trees. Now there's also these flowers, which we were looking at before. Now the flowers can also be crafted into a dye, so that's really handy. Nice. Now what else is there? We've got the rainbow tree over here. Now let's see what this one does. It's almost what you'd expect. As you break the leaves on this one, what it actually does is drops different kinds of dye. So you'll see you actually might get like, yeah, squid ink or lapis lazuli or just, the different colored dyes and stuff. So that's really handy to have some of those. It'll also drop saplings. To grow these, you've got to plant them in a 4x4 like you would a jungle tree. Nice. What else have we not looked at yet? So we looked at the flowers, the crystals, the trees. Yep. So, let's have a look at the energy beacons. Now, the energy beacons come in every different type that there are elements. So you're gonna have your Aveste one like this, but you're also gonna have like the black Kuro energy beacon as well. And if you get too close to them, that happens. They don't like you getting close, so just give them a wide berth. They're deadly. Nice, but they are going to be the source of your power, so don't break them. Or if you do break them, make sure you're able to put them back together again. Nice. All right, let's find some more world gen down below. Now, crystals, of course, you're not really going to find them on the surface. They're going to be underground in caves like this. Yeah, so what have we got here? Now, this is, I believe, energized stone. And what I'm going to do is just pop back into creative mode so you can see each of these. And they're just down here. Here we go. So that's the element stone. The one we're looking at just then is the energized rock, not stone, sorry. So that's energized rock in front of us. Radiant stone, ender stone, and fluid stone. Now, you're going to find these not straight away. You're going to have to progress through the mod before you start unlocking some of these. So that's going to take a little while. Nice. So let's just go back into survival mode and see what we get as we break these. So this was the element stone, and that gave us this chroma dust. And this one, the rune stone, is going to drop runes. Here it is over here. Now the rune stone is actually going to drop different colored elemental stone or different elemental stones. So you might get your black Kuro stones or your light green Aveste stones as well. Any of the stones, nice. Now this was Ender stone or something, wasn't it? Yep, and that's going to drop just a different kind of powder. And this guy again is a different kind of power. This one actually drops these binding crystals, so that's actually really handy. And the fluid stone, again, is, what's that? Fluid essence. So there you go. And I believe, look, that's most of the world gen. So you're going to have to find these things to get items for your recipes. I've got jump boost at the moment, so I'm jumping quite high. Neat. Cool. So let's move on to the next thing. So let's get started now with crafting, the crafting system for ChromatiCraft, which is actually called casting. Now, casting's going to involve building some of these structures that you can see around here, but we'll get into that. Let's just start off with simple crafting, and we'll go on from there. So to get started with the crafting system or casting, you're going to need two items. You're going to need the the casting table and this elemental manipulator. Now, for now, we won't go into everything that, especially up in the left-hand corner, you can see that little circle. We'll get into that later. For now, the purpose of the elemental manipulator is just for casting right now, but it will be useful for other stuff later on. Now, so let's have a look at how you make those. It's just, yeah, the casting table here, and so you're going to need to have found the info shards and stuff to build these things. Okay, cool. So let's plop down our casting table. Look at that. So it looks like a fairly standard GUI for a crafting bench. Now let's find a recipe. So we'll start with this first one, this first basic recipe, which is the chromatic flower. Now I'll go into what all the items I cast do later on. For now, we're just demonstrating the crafting, and I'll go into how you make what all the items do, later on. So let's have a look at making the chromatic flower. So it was oak leaves, a red tulip, 2 glowstone, and any one of these crystal shards. Neat, and we can see chromatic flower, awesome. But we can't grab it. We can't take it out of the casting table, no matter how much we click on it. Well, you've got to hit your casting table with an elemental manipulator. So we'll just give that a whack. Hear that noise. Actually, there's usually an animation. I don't know why that didn't play, but okay. And look at this. Hey, we can grab our chromatic flower. All the ingredients have disappeared. And neat. It's a pretty little block. Nice. So, let's have a look at some more recipes. Now, if we look at the chromatic flower here, it's just, all you get is you've got to, put this crafting recipe together. Same thing with this crystal brewery, which we'll look at later on. If we go into the next tier, so this rune crafting, well, let's have a look at the heat lily. Now, we've got the crafting, but all of a sudden, now we've got some arrows here on the right. If we click across, we can see this new grid. Now, what is that? Well, that is how you're going to have to lay out runes in a casting room. This structure that you can see here. But before we can start using that room, there's one other thing we've got to do. Now, when you first craft an altar, it's going to be at level 0. Now, or tier 0. Now, it can be hard to tell what tier your crafting altar is at. So at the moment, I've got debugging enabled. So if I press tab, I'm going to see this here. Up on the left-hand side, 7 lines down, I can see that this is tier 0. You can see that there, tier 0. So this is a tier 0 casting table. I think I called it an altar before. I don't know why I keep doing that, but whenever I say casting altar, really I mean the casting table. So yeah, the casting table. So it's at level 0 at the moment. To level it up, basically each different item has a certain amount of XP associated with it when it gets crafted. And yeah, so basically you have to craft a bunch of items before the casting table gets enough XP to level up. So let's craft a whole bunch of something and we'll be able to level it up. So we'll just put in all of this here and we'll make a whole bunch of these flowers. Now hopefully that should be enough. I think that's going to be okay. Surely 60 is enough. Let's find out. So when I hit this, listen for a different sound. Did you hear that dun 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 at the end? That didn't play the first time around. So that's how you know it's leveled up. If I look at it now with the debug on, you can see it says tier 1 now up there on the left, where before it said tier 0. So this is now a tier 1 altar, which means it's now ready for more advanced recipes. So let's get those chromatic flowers out of there. And look at that, heaps of chromatic flowers. Neat. Okay, let's move on to tier 1 casting. Okay, so once you've leveled up your altar, you're ready to move on to the next tier of casting. Now, to do that, you can dig up your altar and it's going to retain whatever level it's at. So if we dig this guy, bam, and pick it up. So now we've got our casting table, and that's now at tier 1. Cool. So to get started, you're going to actually have to build one of these structures. So let me just pop into creative mode. So yeah, you can see this structure here. This is a casting room. Now, how do you know how to build a casting room? Well, you've got to go into your chromic lexicon, and if you scroll right down, what you're going to find is, now, you're going to have to have found the info fragment, shard, whatever. Yeah, you're going to have found the info shard in order to know how to build this. So let's go down, and here we got the casting room under basic crafting. Casting, sorry, and look at this, it gives you this 3D map of all the blocks you need and the arrangement they have to be in. You can also go to the 2D, which is actually how I prefer, and it shows you the layout for how you build your your casting room. And it shows you all the blocks which are needed. So once you've gone through and built that, oh, actually, a couple of things maybe I should just point out about the casting room, just from my experience building them. First off, this is coal, and this is a coal block, and this is a lapis block. It doesn't actually tell you the blocks involved at the moment. That may change later on, but at the moment, yeah. So coal and lapis. One other thing is some of these blocks do look kind of similar. This block here is actually different to this block. I'll show you on the thing. So that block and that block are actually different, though they look quite similar. They've both got that kind of ring thing. You can kind of see one of them's kind of more angular and one of them's more rounded. So bear that in mind when you're creating your altar. Another thing is build your altar until it's exactly as it's laid out, and then add decorations. So don't put other things on there until it's completely built and you're sure it's working. And after that, you can put whatever blocks you want on it and decorate. But I did have a problem, yeah, where I'd added some stuff too early, and the altar wasn't working. So yeah, a couple of things to bear in mind. But the main thing is, if you've got that info fragment, you're going to know exactly how you build your casting altar. So just follow the guide on the casting room. Nice. So we'll put down our tier 1 altar, bam, and if everything's set up, yeah, okay, so we'll put that there. Nice. Okay, so now if we go into our chromic lexicon, let's have a look at one of these more advanced recipes. Let's take a look at the item casting stand. So if you click on that, it's going to give you the recipe, and it's also going to give you this. Now this is a rune layout. So what does that mean? Basically, you can see here in the center is your casting table right there. And you can see these are runes, which if we go across to here, there we go. We can see all the different kinds of runes. Now this one said it needed the Kuro and the Zambaro Zambaru crystal runes. You can get recipes for that. If you've got NEI installed, press R. And you can see how you craft these different runes. Also, you can see through NEI how you craft all of these blocks. They pretty much all involve a crystal and stone, a crystal shard and stone in some different kind of configuration. Neat. Okay, so the casting stand, let's go. So we're going to lay out our runes as laid out here. So you've got your casting table, and then if you go out 1, 2, and then up 1, 2, 3. So that's 1, 2, and then up 1, 2, 3. That rune has to go right there. Nice. So let's grab our runes, and we'll have a look at how it's all laid out. Now, another important thing when you are casting is the direction you're facing when you make the recipe. So let's go and, sorry, I went to the wrong thing. There we go. Let's bring this up again. So, okay, basically this is north, south, east, and west there. So you got to keep that in mind. If you lay this out, so at the moment I'm facing north, but if I was facing this way and then laid it out as the guide says, it's not going to work because that has to be north, but I'm facing west. So if I was to put that black one, go, oh, okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and put it there, but we're facing west, as you can see on the mini map in the top right hand corner, it's not going to work. You got to be facing north. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. This is north on your little map here. So let's lay them out as instructed. So it was there and there and here and here. So you can see on the casting grid, see how those are laid out. And if we look at our a little grid here, there it is, purple. So the two Kuro runes and the two purple runes. Yep, Kuro purples. Brilliant. So that's how it's all laid out. Neat. And let's actually put our recipe in here. So I believe that was iron, lapis in the center, stone slabs either side, and bam. And we can see the runes are laid out correctly. If I now break one of these runes and look back, I don't get the option to craft. So that's how you know if it's all been laid out properly. You get the option to craft. Neat, and it's the same system as before. You hit it with the elemental manipulator. Boom, and you can see, look, now there's neat new colors and stuff. Looks pretty. Cool, cool. And if we look in here though, wow, where is it? It should have crafted up there. Well, the casting tables will output into an adjacent inventory. So if you put a chest there, anything you craft is going to go in there. So let's just make another one of these. Da-da. Put those there. There and there. Do that again, and we can see. Let's try and get a look at all the pretty colors going on. Hey, neato. And yeah, and now we've got 2 casting stands sitting in the chest. Cool. So that is how tier 1 casting works. I think that is everything there is to know really about the tier 1 casting. So you've got to build the casting room exactly as it's laid out in your lexicon. You got to make sure you're using a level 1 casting table, a tier 1 casting table. And yeah, and then you go always make sure that you're orientated north when laying out the runes in the recipes. Now, one other thing that I didn't mention is if we take a look at this heat lily here and look at its recipe, here it says on the right, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see that on YouTube, it says y equals -1 or -1. Now, if we look back at the casting stand, this says y equals 0. What does that mean? Basically, if you imagine the level that the casting table is on is level 0. So -1 would be down in that hole there. So the runes, if it's y equals 0, the runes go here. If it's y equals -1, that means that the runes would have to go underneath the level below the casting table. Cool. Neat. Oh, all right, guys. So bear that in mind when you're laying out your runes. Always make sure you're working on the right level. Okay, let's move on to the next tier. Now, to get onto tier 3, tier 2, once again, you're gonna have to level up your casting altar. So that means that you're gonna have to make a bunch of stuff and wait for it to make that noise again, or check it if you've got debugging enabled. Nice. Oh, and one other thing. You can, as before, dig it up. But you're going to want to make a lot of these casting stands because they're required at the next level. So a good thing to make is, and we'll just take a quick look. This is the next tier altar, and as you can see, these are all casting stands. So you're going to need a lot of them. Okay, let's move on to tier 2. Okay, now let's take a look at tier 2 casting. So once again, you're going to have to build another structure. Now this time it's the casting temple. So let's find the casting temple. And we can see it's a similar layout to before, but we're using some different items. This time we're using, or different blocks, sorry. We're using a block of redstone, and we're also using blocks of gold. And around the bottom, you're going to need blocks of quartz, nether quartz. Neat. You're also going to need your upgraded casting table, so that's now at tier 2, as you can see up there on the left. And you're also going to have to lay out all these casting stands. Now, a good thing to bear in mind as you're laying them out is that some of them, these ones here in the inner ring, are at the same level as the altar, but these ones are a level above, so you could place a block underneath them. And you can absolutely place a block underneath them. Once you've built your altar and you're sure that this is working, you can then add whatever decorations you want. Yeah, so you can have whatever block you like sitting underneath the casting stands. Awesome. So how do we actually craft with this? Well, once you've got it all laid out properly, if you click on your casting table, you'll see this. It's an expanded GUI, or an expanded table. Instead of being a 3 by 3, it's now a 7 by 7. So it's a lot larger. Now, the way the recipes work, well, if we look at a recipe, so let's get a more advanced recipe up here in our lexicon. We'll look at this infusion stand. So how do you know how to make the infusion stand? Well, if you look through the arrows, you can see this time we've now got 3, and there's this 7 by 7 crafting grid here. And this is how you're going to identify all the different tiers of your casting. So if we look at the chromatic flower we made before, it's just a crafting recipe and there's no arrows here. So that way we know it can just be made on a casting table. But if we look at the item casting stand, we see we've got arrows. And if we push across, well, we get this rune layout. So that way we know if it's a crafting recipe and a rune layout, that's tier 1 casting, and that's going to have to be made in a casting room. But if we look across now at a more advanced recipe like the infusion stand, well, we can see we've got our crafting recipe, we've got a rune layout. Even though it's blank, we don't need any runes. And if we go across again, we see the 7 by 7, but we can't go any further. That way we know it's now tier 2 casting, and we're going to need to build this casting temple in order to make the recipe. Neat. So let's take just another quick look at our 7 by 7 so we can see the recipe. So we can see here we've got our crafting grid, and in the middle of the crafting grid we're going to have an item casting stand to make this item. And then on the expanded slots we're going to have to put some iron. Now once again, you've got to make sure your orientation is north when you lay all this out. And if we grab our iron and lay it out like it was shown to us in the lexicon, so like this, what we should now have is, and we need the item casting stand in the middle, and bam, look at that. So we've now got the recipe for our infusion stand. And once again, if we now give it a whack with our elemental manipulator, if we get out the elemental manipulator, we can see as well how many pieces of iron are in those stands. But if we give it a whack, we'll see it do some neat colors and stuff. Looks very cool. And bam, it has crafted. And once again, it'll output into any adjacent inventory. So we've got an infusion stand. There was already one in there. Neat. Nice. Now there is also a rune component to some of these recipes. So let me just lay out the runes and I'll be right back. Okay, now something to bear in mind, if you need to put more than one item into a casting stand, what you can do is double right click and that will put all of them that are in your hand in there. So there's now 60 in there. So double clicking on a casting stand will put all of those items in there. Neat. All right, so now we've got another recipe laid out. If we look at our lexicon, I'm making the inventory simulator. So if we look at our grid, we can see, that that's the recipe and that's all laid out. But if we look in here, it's not working. It's not letting us craft. Well, if we go back to our lexicon, what we'll see is that it also requires runes. This recipe also requires runes like our tier 1 crafting did. So the layout was in the top left, and this is one of the ones where it says, actually I'll show you just so you know, here it says y equals -1, which means the runes have to go a level down from where the crafting altar is. So let's lay out our runes. So I think it's there and there. It's going to be that. So you can replace blocks from this with runes if the recipe calls for it. So let's just break that. So yeah, you can break the blocks which are for the casting temple or the casting room and replace it with runes because yeah, some of the recipes call for you to do that. So let's lay out the runes and look at that. Now we can craft because we have our runes laid out. So it's fairly simple and we'll give it a whack and it's going to do a neat little light show. Very cool. And it is now crafted for us that inventory simulator. So that is tier 2 casting in the casting altar. So as you can see, we've still got a lot of content to still cover, but this episode's been going on for quite a while, so we're going to continue in part 2, and we'll get into how all these energy relays and stuff work, and we'll also get into the next tier of crafting, tier 3 crafting. We're also going to cover a lot of the items and abilities and stuff, so look, stick around for episode 2, and I'll see you then. Cheers.